Welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. It's been almost 6 years for the channel now, and do I know what I'm doing? Absolutely not. But am I having fun? Heck yeah. So here's a look at what I plan to do in 2026. And just to begin, I'll talk about what I want to do going forward with the channel in general. I'm going to continue to do basically what I have been doing, which is deep dives, and a good example of that being my One Piece videos and discussions. But one thing to keep in mind with the discussions that I do on the channel, if you're looking for a spoiler-free review, usually the first 20 minutes or so, maybe even half hour of those discussion videos, basically it's spoiler-free review that I'm doing with my guest or guests. So that is something I think that a lot of people might appreciate. The fact that maybe I don't do as many just straight up dedicated reviews, but actually a lot of the times when I'm doing the discussions, you can find essentially a dedicated review that is spoiler free at the beginning of those. So just a kind of a general heads up for that. And then of course I will continue to do the weeks that were. This is my little update that I do usually roughly once a month or so. I'm not especially regular about that. Sometimes I do it even more often, sometimes less. But basically that's where I tell you all about my channel news and my book updates and all that stuff for like my own writing, for those of you who are interested in that. And I plan to continue to do episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy, something that I really enjoy, and just getting to know some of my fellow booktubers better, and spreading the word about some channels that I have come to appreciate and that sort of thing. So that's something I do want to continue. And of course I will be continuing with my Quilluminati brethren, the Quilluminati consisting of Brian from BellTube, John from Talking Story, and Mike from Mike's Book Reviews. This is something I've gotten a lot of joy out of in the last year and a half or so, just discussing once a quarter books with my friends, and having a blast, just having a great time, fellowship over books. So that I will definitely be continuing with as part of that group. And I want to tell everyone that I am done. If you haven't heard yet, I'm done with SPFBO. Done being a judge, that is. I will continue to follow the contest, and I'll make a pledge now to read at the very least the winner of the contest every year going forward. I had a great time being involved in SPFBO, but it was time for me to step down for a couple of reasons. One, I have a lot of self-published books on my shelves waiting for me to read, and I'm going to give a few examples of that, stuff that I'm hoping to get to in 2026. And also the other reason is for my own writing. I'm just, with all the books that I had to read for SPFBO, it was impossible to find time for writing. And I'm trying to write my next book in the Dan series. It's actually a prequel, 60 years or so before the trilogy. So yeah, that's something that I decided with a bit of a heavy heart to step down from being a judge for SPFBO. And I want to thank Mark Lawrence and all the other judges and people involved. It was a really wonderful experience, a real privilege to be involved in SPFBO for 3 years, including this year's Tournament of Champions, which has been pretty exciting stuff. So yeah, well, I guess I can talk now about those. So let's start with the self-published stuff that I want to get to. Some of these are series that I've already started, like P.L. Stewart's wonderful Drowned Kingdom saga. And I'm currently on book 2. And I'm involved in a group discussion of this series that has been organized by Shay from the channel Zachary Shay. And I'm so excited to continue with P.L. Stewart's series. I loved the first book. Reviewed it a couple of years ago now. It's hard to believe how much time has gone by, but that is one I'm definitely going to do. Another one I'm hoping to get to very, very soon is Destiny's Doom, the third book in the fantastic Sundered Nation trilogy by Von Roycroft. This is just fantastic stuff. I really loved the historical fantasy vibes here with the Goths meet the Romans and all that. And that is the one that begins with the Severing Sun. And I've loved the first two. Going to get to that soon. Another one that I really loved, this year's SPFBO champion, was By Blood, by Salt, and I adored that book. I thought very highly of it, and as a judge, I gave it a very high score, and I want to follow up on that because this is really good stuff. So I'm going to be reading A Haunt for Jackals at some point in 2026, I am sure. Something I feel terrible about that I never continued with is the Ash and Sand trilogy by Richard Nell. I loved the first book. One of the most iconic characters you'll meet in fantasy, very grimdark stuff. Yeah, Richard Nell is a great writer. I want to continue with this very worthy series. And another one that I started this year by Michael Miller, Songs of Chaos. I enjoyed that, and I had a nice chat with Michael Miller as well. So this is a series that I do want to continue with, the Dragon Rider series. And also there's as far as series or books that are going to be new to me, one that I'm really eager to get to here is Micah Harris's Agents of the Runestone Ring. Micah is just a brilliant guy. I've had the pleasure of interacting with him here and there online. And very well spoken, very eloquent, and I'm sure that I'm going to get a lot from his book, which I hope to be reading, actually, this one in January. And Daniel Maidman's The Exile of Zanzibar, another one that I'm excited to get to, and I've heard really great things about. I think this one is going to as far as what I've heard, this one will be a deeper book, a deeper reading experience. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then The Garden Gnome by Jeff McIntyre. Don't know a ton about it, but I've interacted a wee bit with Jeff in various social media, and he seems like a great guy. Really want to try out his book. Another great person that I've interacted with is Zamar Amer, and his Riven Earth book that is the first of a duology. Want to get to that. I have the second book as well. And then there's Zamil Akhtar's Gunmetal Gods, a series that I really want to jump on. I've been told it's kind of a grim dark, but really goes for it. And I've seen the beautiful special edition that have been made for this book, and man, that looks just amazing. Another one is Gregory Contaxis' The Return of the Knights. This is the first book in a series as well. The Dance of Light is the series name. And another great person I've interacted with on social media. But that's not it. There's plenty more that I will be getting into as well. Okay, so those are the self-published books that I want to be getting into in 2026. Let's see how I do with that. And here are some of the traditionally published books. And let's begin with one that I feel terrible I haven't done yet, but I will be finishing all the Ursi books. I just have the last of the novels, The Other Wind, to read. I read actually all of the short stories or little novella length stories that are set there, and I need to finish up the Ursi, all things Ursi with the first four books I grew up with and loved and read again and again, and I never did for some reason read the fifth, The Other Wind. And so this is a long time thing that I've been wanting to accomplish, and I want to make a video when I'm done with it all about Ursi and why people should read Ursi and what I think they could get from it. But I'm a huge fan of Le Guin, and after I'm done with Ursi, I'd like to follow up with more of her science fiction, having read The Left Hand of Darkness this year and loved it. And another book that I have not read and feel like I'm the last person to read around here is The Devils. This is Joe Abercrombie's newest thing. And I don't know, I just never got a chance to read it when everybody was jumping on board and everything. So I'm looking forward to it very much. I love Abercrombie's stuff. And he'll be coming up again here in a moment when I talk about audiobooks. But more of the physical stuff, something I'm really excited to get to. I read Magician long ago, but I'm going to be reading it again and chatting about it. Speaking of my Quilluminati brethren, the Quilluminati are going to do a, outside of our 4 reads a year, we're also going to be reading the Magician. I guess it's a trilogy, but it's split into 4 books, so we're going to read it as 4 books. And yeah, starting with Magician Apprentice, the first half of Magician, which we'll be reading in January and talking about together. So I'm very excited for that. And I'm also going to be continuing with the Tad Williams Austin Ard books and beginning with the Bridge little novel. It's a bit thin for a Tad Williams book, but it is the heart of what was lost. And this is the bridge between Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn and The Last King of Austin Ard. And I will be reading this with my good buddy Nikhil from Shelf Esteem and continuing in The Last King of Austin Ard, starting probably in February with The Witchwood Crown and getting through those 4 books. So yeah, very, very excited to continue in Austin Ard and see how Tad Williams followed up with Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. One of my favorite reads. It was a reread for me, actually, of this year. Also in January, I will be reading A Woman of the Sword by Anna Smith Spark. I was really excited to read A Sword of Bronze and Ashes by Anna Smith Spark this year, and she became I was in awe of her writing, beautiful prose, just a very thoughtful and thought-provoking writer. So I'm excited to read this. I believe this one is a standalone, but I'm going to be reading this and discussing it with Chris from The Bearded Book Beast in January. And yeah, I'm really excited to read more by Anna Smith Spark. And also, probably at some point this year, I hope to follow up with her sequel to A Sword of Bronze and Ashes as well, which I do have here on my shelf, and I'm very, very keen to get to. And then I will be reading also in January. These are sounds like a lot for January, but these are pretty slim. This is The Wandering Fire, Book 2 of the Fiona of Our Tapestry. I recently read Book 1, The Summer Tree, and discussed it with Evan from The Nerd Writer and with P.L. Stewart. Now, Evan and I are doing we're calling it the Great GGK Read, or the GGKR. Yes, that's what we're calling it, the Great Guy Gavriel K. Read. So Evan and I are going to be reading all 16 of Guy Gavriel K's published novels, and we've already done Tigana and The Summer Tree, and we're going to be following up with the rest of the Fiona of Our Tapestry, which is a trilogy, and then moving on to the next books. And sometimes we're going to have some special guests talking about the various books with us. And right now, P.L. Stewart is joining us for the Fiona of Our Tapestry. And I think, 2 books in, and I feel like this has the potential to become one of the greatest literary journeys of my life. I'm really adoring even the early stuff, like The Summer Tree. It's not universally adored, as some people do think it's their favorite, though, I must say that. But there are plenty of people who would say, yeah, he was still learning his craft, he's finding his voice, that sort of thing. I mean, he was still in his mid-20s when he wrote The Summer Tree. I still loved it myself. I'm in awe of what he was able to do there. And I'm thinking that, yeah, this could be one of the most significant literary journeys I ever go on. So I'm very excited, as you can probably tell, for this GGGKR. So yeah, and I'll be continuing with Gormenghast, the Gormenghast novels. I read Titus Groan and discussed it with my friend Jay from A Contemplative Reader, and we will be continuing, I think probably in February. We'll be talking about book 2, which is Gormenghast. And yeah, we did Titus Groan, then we'll do Gormenghast, and then Titus Alone. And so yeah, this was a real treat for me. Brilliant prose, and I can see where all the praise comes from. Not one you want to pick up if you're looking for a page turner, definitely. But still, just really, just very atmospheric, gothic kind of stuff. I had a blast with it. And speaking of brilliant prose, it is time soon, I hope, to continue in The Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wirtz. I've actually read Trader's Knot. This is book 7 in the 11-book series. And Joanna and I both read this. We're waiting for AP. So the 3 of us were doing this buddy read of The Wars of Light and Shadow. And Joanna and I had finished this. And, AP from A Critical Dragon, the one and only Professor Fireballs, my personal nemesis. He just had a lot going on, and he wasn't able to continue. And we are hoping that we'll be able to restart our buddy read of The Wars of Light and Shadow in 2026. And that is something that I am very keen to get to, because, again, I think that Wars of Light and Shadow could be up there in easily my top 5. And who knows, when I get to the end of it, will it make a bid for my favorite of all time? I think it could. I think it very well could. It's that brilliant. So I am very eager to get back to that world. And, whoa, boy, goodness, Another big, vast, sprawling series. It gets bigger and chunkier with each book. Is Ryan Cahill's The Bound and the Broken. And I've had a really good time with that. And I had a discussion with Mike from Mike's Book Reviews and Christopher Navo and John from Talking Story about all the previous books. And none of us yet have gotten to Of Empires and Dust. I think Mike is reading it very soon. But that is one I definitely want to continue in, and hopefully we can get together and talk about Of Empires and Dust when all of us have read it. It is a bit of a brick there. And also, I've got Earth of the New Sun. So I read Book of the New Sun and was in a big group read of it. And it was a reread for me. And I think that it got stalled for one reason or another, the big group buddy read. And I've always intended to follow up anyway with Earth of the New Sun. I reread actually the first 2 books in Book of the New Sun. So I haven't read, I'm debating whether I want to reread books 3 and 4 or just read Earth of the New Sun. And I'm hoping to talk about Earth of the New Sun with Joanna and Jimmy and Jake from Nerd Level Rising. So that is something I hope will happen perhaps around March, I think. March or April, maybe. So that's definitely a 2026 read. Never have yet followed up with Dune. It's crazy. I read the first book twice now. I did a reread a couple years ago when the film was coming out. I never followed up, so I need to follow up and read Dune Messiah at least this year. Maybe I'm committed to at least reading the first 3 books. So yeah, that is something. It's a little embarrassing that I never have done yet, but I do love Dune, so why not? Another one that I feel like I should have read already. Now I've read 5 of Terry Pratchett's books in the Discworld series, and it's time to move on. Let's get on with it. So I'll probably be using more Discworld books as palate cleansers here and there through 2026. Looking forward to following up with the Witch books with Weird Sisters. That's going to be my next one, pretty sure. I think I'm going to skip around the various sub-series within Discworld and just have fun with that. Another one I need to follow up on is, well, actually, I read The Will of the Many. I don't have book 2 yet, The Strength of the Few, so I can't hold it up. But I did read this. It was in a discussion organized by Jake from Nerd Level Rising. And I liked this book. I know it's a huge hit, and loads of people are really hyped about it. I liked it. I thought it was a good example of the orphan goes to magic school trope with some nice wrinkles in there, having a sort of a Roman-esque setting, and other little things that I thought Islington did really well. So I am excited, especially with all the hype around The Strength of the Few. I'm excited to follow up and continue with the Hierarchy trilogy. And also, I want to start a new one here, and that is one that has been getting some hype as well because it's won some awards. And this is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is also the first book in a trilogy. It's Between Earth and Sky. I think that's the name of the trilogy. And so, yeah, I'm very curious. I can't remember which awards this won, but it won some big ones. Was it the Hugo, I think, recently? Something like that. So, yeah, I'm excited to give this one a try. And I don't know much about it, but yeah, it can't be too bad if it's winning big awards. A series that I keep meaning to do and keep kicking down the road because, well, you know, life and other books and all that. But I will get to at least Perdido Street Station. This is book 1 in the Baslag, if that's how you say that, Baslag trilogy by China Mieville. Very, very keen to get to this. I don't feel like I can really say I've read the best of fantasy until I read some China Mieville, right? I mean, so, and this is pretty different stuff, and I'm up for it. I'm up for some really weird stuff, and I think I'm going to get that. Plus, very well crafted, I think, so, from what I hear. And could it be? Well, I think it is. There's a very distinct possibility that there will be a Malazan reread. Probably not until late in the year. It may even be 2027. But basically, what I've said is, when all of the Broken Binding special editions are out, it's going to be time for a Malazan reread. So I don't know if it might. I actually have no idea what their schedule is and when they intend to have the last 4. But I have the first 6 books on my shelves now. And I'm starting to feel the urge to get back into Malazan. I'm also wanting to read, I don't have it here with me because it won't be out until, I think, March, but a new trilogy by Mark Lawrence, and the first book is called Daughter of Crows, I believe. Whatever Mark Lawrence writes, I'm gonna try. I've read 4 of his trilogies now, and he's 4 for 4 for me. So I am very excited to read his new one. And yeah, I need to read, I think I still have 2 more trilogies from his backlist to get to, plus a bunch of short stories. So lots of stuff here. Some standalones, why not? Let's throw some standalones in. So The Spear Cuts Through Water. I really want to get to that. I enjoyed Simon Jimenez's first book that I read, The Vanished Birds. This was a Quilluminati read. Not everybody in the Quilluminati loved it, but I actually really thought The Vanished Birds showed a great deal of promise, and there were some really cool things that Jimenez really went for in there. And I want to follow up with The Spear Cuts Through Water, which I hear is also a book that takes some chances, and that is something that I definitely respect, and I think Jimenez has the chops to pull off some interesting things. Another one that I'm really keen to read because my wife is telling me I need to read this book. My wife has recommended a book, and I better read it. And it is called There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak. I've never read anything by this author before, but I hear great things. I believe that she is a Turkish-British woman who has earned high praise, won some big awards, I think, too. But this is a book that it actually is not exactly fantasy, really. It's not really fantasy, but it does play with memory, and this wanders all over the place. So you've got Mesopotamian stuff in here, like Gilgamesh, right? And you've got Victorian London, and you've got Turkey in 2014. You've got 2018 London. So it moves around, and I'm not exactly sure how all these things get connected in here, but I think there's a lot to do with memory in here. So I'm very intrigued. My wife loves the book, has read a bunch of her other stuff as well, so I better get going. Another standalone that I want to get to and is Babel by R.F. Kuang. Lots of people have read this, and I've heard some people love it. I've heard some people not love it as much based on, I guess, mostly the incorporation of the magic in here. I have no strong opinion about it yet because I haven't read it, but I did read the Puppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang, and I had mixed experience with that, mostly positive, but this sounds like something that I should really read. There's a lot about language in here, and I love languages, so I'm really keen to see what R.F. Kuang does with this, and I want to read Babel. And wow, I think that's about it for the physicals. Now let's talk about what I'm doing audiobook-wise. So my current audiobook, which I probably will finish before the end of the year, might be early January, but I have a physical of it as well, is Heliotrope by Palmer Pickering. I'm loving this. So if you're a fan of Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings, and you want to try out a really talented indie author who's written something I think that is in some ways reminiscent of Realm of the Elderlings, you need to pick up Heliotrope by Palmer Pickering. I'm really enjoying this. I think I have about 6 or 7 hours left of listening because I'm audiobooking it. But yeah, the attention to detail in here is just astounding. This is real immersion. This is somebody who's done their homework to give you the full experience of this world. And with characters who are basically lovable, but also have a history. They have a past, and sometimes they have to do some things that are pretty gruesome because they're in these awful situations. So in many ways, reminds me, it is a kind of slow burn with some really heartbreaking, just action-packed moments, but also some just heartwarming, beautiful relationships that I've been brought to tears a few times while listening to Heliotrope. So in so many ways, it does remind me of Robin Hobb. So that's going to be a big recommend for me, I'm pretty sure. But I do need to finish that up. And I'm also going to be listening to, on audiobook, the standalones in the First Law universe by Joe Abercrombie. I'm a huge fan of the First Law books, read them all, and I'm looking forward to continuing to listen to the brilliant narration I read, listened to the First Law trilogy already. Just loved the narration there, and thought, okay, I gotta listen to the rest because this is just fantastic. And it's been a wonderful way to reread the First Law books. So, because I read the First Law trilogy twice already and listened to it, so that's kind of a third time. But I've only read the standalones once and the follow-up trilogy once. So I plan to listen to all of that and at least listen to the 3 standalones, starting with Best Served Cold this year. Also on audiobook. This is probably going to surprise people because I consider myself a relative newbie when it comes to audiobooks. A series that lots of people there's tons of hype out right now about it, and a lot of people have told me I'm going to enjoy it. I'm sure I will. But I'm going to listen to an audiobook, and that is Sun Eater. So I know it's a relatively complex series, but I'm actually getting better and better at listening to audiobooks, much to my surprise and delight. So I'm going to try something relatively big, sprawling, complex, and in Sun Eater. Also because I got all the books for super cheap on a sale on Audible. So that is a big reason too. But I'm excited to get through the Sun Eater series. I do happen to have the physical of the first book, Empire of Silence, because I've been meaning to read it for a long time. But I'm going to audiobook it. Maybe I'll try immersion reading the first one and see how I like that. I don't know. But I'm going to audiobook the series. I'll see how that goes. Hopefully it's a good narrator. Hopefully I jive with the narrator because I got all the books. For a steal, I won't tell you how much they were, but it was a steal. So also I want to continue with Dungeon Crawler Carl. I adored the first book. I listened to it by audiobook, had a fantastic time. And another one that I had a fantastic time with is the first book in the hybrid Helix series by J.C.M. Byrne. So I want to continue when those audiobooks are out with the Hybrid Helix series, Wistful Ascending being the first book, which I did listen to on audiobook. Had a discussion with Joe for Dear Dr. Fantasy as well, if you want to check that out. Great fellow. And talented author. That and DCC, Dungeon Crawler Carl, these are good audiobook listens for me because they're very funny. Joe has a great sense of humor. Obviously, Matt Dinneman has a great sense of humor. I found that audiobooks that lean into humor work really well for me. So I'm excited for that. Another one I'm going to listen to on audiobook is going to be a reread or a re-listen or whatever you want to say, but I read Discovery, one of my favorite reads of 2025. I got the audiobook. This is by my good friends John and Amy and Jacob Minton over at Talking Story. A brilliant, brilliant book. If you haven't picked it up, I'll be talking about it on my favorite reads of the year video. But absolutely great stuff. But the audiobook is out, and there's 7 different narrators. They really went to town on this audiobook for Discovery. So I'm going to listen to that at some point. Probably, I don't know when book 2 in Strange Eons is going to be out. That's the series name, Strange Eons. But maybe I'll wait till shortly before book 2 comes out to listen to that audiobook. I think it's coming out in 2026. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. But that's going to be another audiobook listen. And another one that I hope to get back to is the Dresden Files. I haven't really gotten to that point in the Dresden Files where a lot of fans get to, where it's like you hit this certain book. For a lot of people, it's book 10 or whatever. But I listened to book 8 by audiobook. I read the first 7 physically, listened to book 8, and I've liked them all, but I haven't loved Dresden yet. So I'm waiting for that moment for Dresden to really hit me and become a big fan. But I will continue on audiobook, I think. I did enjoy James Marsters' performance and when I listened to book 8. So that's another one. And of course, there is one last thing I need to talk about here, and that is One Piece. And I am going to be finishing, not finishing because it's not finished, but I'll be catching up. I'll be coming current with One Piece in 2026. I'm pretty sure of that now. I am in the midst of Wano, so I'm getting there. I'm getting pretty close. My intention there is to continue reading One Piece as the chapters come out. And I think I'd love to do something like maybe a live stream with One Piece people, with the One Piece community, every so often. I'm not sure how often I do that. I don't think it would be weekly, but at least monthly, maybe bi-weekly. I'm still figuring that out. But when I'm current, and the other thing I'd love to do with One Piece is to actually talk with other people on YouTube who cover One Piece. I've had discussions with a few people already, like Murphy and Alan and others, but I haven't gotten really too far into other channels that just cover One Piece, mainly because I'm trying to avoid spoilers. But when I become current, I'm going to reach out to some people, try to get into some more One Piece discussions. As far as other manga that I'll be reading, I really don't know for sure. I've been thinking about that, and I keep coming back and forth on it. Berserk is one that gets recommended to me all the time, so I'm sure I'm going to try Berserk at some point. Will it be my next one? Maybe. The other one I'm really thinking about hard is Kingdom, which I understand there is an official translation for, and that one I'm really curious about, although it's ongoing, I believe. So yeah, I don't know. I think Kingdom is going to be one that I really like based on what I've heard. And then there's Akira, which is going back because I really want to get a sense of the history of manga. So there's so many things I could try, but those are three that I'm thinking of. But first, I want to get current with One Piece and enjoy being current and being in discussions with the One Piece fans that are out there. So that's going to be it for 2026 for yours truly, and I am really looking forward to interacting with all of you in comments, in various discussions, videos, and whatnot. It's just been a lot of fun here. These last almost 6 years have been a lot of fun for me, and I'm really excited for the future. But that is it for me for now. Until next time.